So what you're looking at here is a stack of 60 worthless, damaged comic books. Worthless individually, that is, if I tried to sell them one by one, and definitely not worth my time trying to list these on eBay, again, one by one. But I'm going to show you a trick that I used to sell these for a total of $137.50. So this very stack that you're going to see right here is going to go out in the mail right after this video is done. Purchased, paid for, everything is all set with them. So these books, if you're wondering where I got them from, these are just basically leftovers. They're cast-asides from the large comic book collections that you've seen me purchase and go through in some haul videos. And a good example of that would be, for example, the storage unit haul video. And I have a whole section on my channel here. If you go in the playlists, just go under unboxing videos and you could see me go over boxes and boxes of comic books, and we'll come across ones like these that you just can't do anything with really individually, and it's not really worth your time, like I said. So you got to figure out another plan with them. So I've talked about that one of the things that my wife, Mrs. Primetime, sometimes does with books like these is she will use them for crafting projects. But she has so many projects that she's working on right now, and I buy so many collections that it's stacked up to an amount that she can't realistically use all of them right now, because there would just be so many projects to do with them. She just wouldn't have the time for it. So rather than throw them out, which is what a lot of people will do with books like this, and you may come across them as well if you buy comic book collections, because you're going to get books that are damaged when you're buying in bulk. It's just like anything else. When you buy a lot of clothing or a lot of CDs or a lot of records, you're going to find ones in there that you can't really do anything with individually. Maybe there's a hole in the shirt, maybe there is a crack in a CD case, or the CD scratched, or the record is has some kind of damage to it or something, either on the cover or the record itself. It go on and on. Whatever you purchase in bulk, there's going to be damage with it. That's just part of it. But you've got to try to figure out, is there a way you could extract value out of that damaged product? So I'm going to show you how you could do it with comic books, and you could probably do it with other, in fact, I know you could do it with some other areas as well, but today we're just going to focus on the comics aspect. So let me, before I show you exactly what I did, I've kind of talked about it before, but I never actually showed you an actual case of it. I'm going to show you how I do the whole layout and the design and everything, so you could use these strategies as well. But this right here, let's just take two examples of what I mean when I say these are pretty worthless individually. So this one here is Abbott and Costello. It is from 1970. It's issue number 18, and as you can see, it has damage to it. There is a bunch of creases on the book. There's rips to the book as well. You could see one right here on the bottom. You could see a rip right here. You could see that there's some staining, not too bad on the back, but if you open it up on the inside, you're going to see there's discoloration, as well as a bunch of indentations and dimpling. And you're also going to see here, like on the actual pages, that we've got all sorts of, pencil scribbling and things like this. So this is not a collector's grade book, and it's definitely not something that someone's going to want for an issue that's not really considered an important issue. Now, I should just say as an aside, if you had a really high demand key issue book where something very important happened, like many of the books you see in the background here and on the screen, well, if they're rare enough, then someone will still purchase one like that if it's a low grade book like that. Obviously, it's going to affect the value, but that still could be something that someone might want to get their hands on. But individually, trying to sell something like this, you're going to have a problem. Let me show you what I mean here. We'll go to the eBay screen here, and this is just searching for Abbott and Costello number 18, and this is the lowest price one that you'll find right now. There's a couple of them available, but this is really what I'd be competing against if I tried to sell it individually. And you could see here someone selling it for $295 plus $495 shipping. So right there off the bat, I've got an issue personally with my business model, because my business model is I don't sell anything on eBay that is less than $9.99. It's just not worth my time otherwise. That's not a criticism of people who are doing that. Everyone has their own business model. And I used to sell things in that range, but at this point, I've just decided not to do that and to move on to different types of items I would sell for $9.99 or more. So you can see here, it does have a little tear on the top, and it does have a few stains. It has one down here as well, some creases, but neither on the front or the back is there a big rip like the one that you saw here in this book over here. Now, it's not a huge rip, but there's not a rip on here, and rips are something that collectors really don't like to see, of course. So I've got to say, when I look at this, I say to myself, you know what, this is just not worth my time to list this book individually. And even if you look at the next one, that's that's $9. This one's if you look at it here, there's some creases on it, but there's a rusty staple there. There's some color loss there as well, but still doesn't have the rips or the tears. It just shows the front cover there. This person is not going to invest a lot of time into putting up pictures because of the price, and that's something to also consider. Just as kind of a side tip, not taking 12 pictures of items that are only going to sell for $9.99 or less. It doesn't make much sense to do that. So just keep that in mind in terms of an efficiency tip. So there's that one. My book here is in worse condition than both of those, so it's not a competitive book for the marketplace. So this one gets just put aside and put into one of these stacks, and I just kind of build them up over time. Let's look at the next one we have on the pile here. This one here is Marvel 2-in-1, and it's issue number 22. Now this one here has a crease on the back. It's got creases on the front. It's pretty discolored. It has some tiny tears and stuff. It's just not a book that's in collector's grade shape. And Marvel 2-in-1s, by the way, are not that difficult to find, even though it is an older book. There's just there's plenty of them that are around. So, and it's not a key issue. It's not something where anything like super important happened. And none of the books in this lot really are really like that. And so you can see here, there's someone selling the Marvel 2-in-1 number 22 for $1.66 plus $3 shipping. So, I'm not gonna spend my time competing with that. And this one does have a little tear on the side, but it doesn't have as much creasing, doesn't have as many indentations. The back is fairly decent. So I'd have to say overall, this book here is actually better than this one. And I'm certainly not going to sell this book for less than $4.66. Because remember, I've got to spend time taking photographs. I've got to spend time putting up a description. I've got to spend time packing it, shipping it, all that type of stuff, printing out the label. So you've got to just decide that for your business. Now, I said $9.99 or less. I know there's other people who say $19.99 or less, and there's other people might be even higher than that. So, again, no right or wrong I'm saying necessarily. It's just what works best for your particular business model. But since that's mine, and you could extrapolate it to yours however you want to, I just decided for all of these books that are here in this stack that I had to come up with a different way to do it. And one of the things that kind of motivated me to kind of come up with this system that I'm going to show you in a minute is the system of what we call junk drawer lots. And if you haven't heard of junk drawer lots, you should look into them. They're very fascinating to me on a psychological basis, because what essentially happens is, for the most part with a junk drawer lot, is you have an assortment of items that are generally not worth much individually. Like, you could look at these here, and you can even see in the description, it says used, various levels of wear, the donkey is missing one leg, tabs on two others are broken. I mean, look at this. So I'll show you the items. I'll just bring you a little close up of them. Now, I know many of you have heard of junk drawer lots before, but if you haven't, it's an interesting thing to learn about here. Now, they're vintage items, but again, how much is each one of these worth individually? Not a lot. But when you combine it together, look what happened with the bids here. 40 bids sold for $328.58. That's absolutely crazy. And that's not a one-off. There's example after example of things like this happening. And if you want to see a very good video that was put together on this, check out the video by Don, the auction professor, on junk drawer lots on the Auction Professor's channel. It's really a good eye-opening video about this. So what I did is, this is my listing here, is I took the books and strategically laid them out to give it kind of a junk drawer lot type of look. And while this looks like a random placement of books, it's actually specifically laid out and designed to really give it a nice strong visual appeal to the potential buyers. And so that's why right in the middle there you could see I have Batman. I've got my Batman shirt on here to commemorate this sale. So you can see there's a 15-cent Batman issue there, and right around it I've got Star Wars. You could see Action Comics right there, which is Superman. I made it a point to make sure that Thor and Spider-Man and the Hulk, so very popular Marvel characters, were right there towards the front. And then I have some ghost books, and you could see there, and the Dracula books. I tried to somewhat theme them together a little bit. They kind of just peek through. There's Tomb of Dracula right there. There's Uncanny Tales from the Grave, and eye-catchy kind of characters and scenes, like the monster grabbing the guy and from behind right there that you could see, something that's going to jump out, a real dramatic picture of Batman, Hulk jumping through the comic book, that kind of thing, military books, GI War, also adding in some vintage cartoon ones, so you could see there's Tom and Jerry and there's Bugs Bunny and Donald Duck, somewhat close together. I wanted an Avengers comic to be seen, so you could see that to the top right, because the Avengers are so popular now with the movies. Classics Illustrated, you could see I purposely put 4 of those together right there as a Classics Illustrated Junior in the very back, and just kept just laying them out and just kind of making it almost like organized chaos is the best kind of way I could describe it. And then I also, just to give someone a sense of the scale of it, I did a close-up view of what all the books look like together. And you could see here just how much damage is on, for example, this Batman book. Same thing. You could go through the listings for every one of these books, and it would be a challenge to sell it individually. That's not to say I can't make a buck, on some of the books, or maybe a couple bucks, but it would take a long time to find someone who would want that. And I'm just going to show you, this is a much easier system. As you can see here, I put these up. I started the bidding, by the way, at $9.99. And you can see here that this was paid for. And by the way, another example of why I say you should get a global shipping program, because this sold internationally, paid for, guys, 100% feedback. He's got, I think, over like 900 feedback. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to have any issue at all with this buyer. And why would someone buy something like this, you say? Well, it's the same reason that someone would buy the junk drawer lot. They are, the buyers that is, they are drawn to the assembly of it and the amount of stuff that they feel they're getting. And even though, yes, it's damaged individually, there are some people out there that they don't mind just having the comic books, for example, for the stories, and they just like reading the stories, and they don't want to go out and individually pay for every single one of these books, especially if they are someone who lives internationally, and they think, wow, if I want to just pay to read a bunch of these stories, I got to pay each person international shipping fee. So, but don't get me wrong, plenty of people are going to buy these also who live in the US. There were a lot of bidders for there's, you can see 42 total bids, and there were a lot of people who bid on these books. Another reason people will buy them, again, is for crafting projects, and that's the same thing for clothes. For example, if you have a big lot of clothes, sometimes people will just buy them. If they're damaged clothes, they'll use the threads for different sorts of projects that they're doing, craft projects, rags, things like that. So throwing things in the garbage and donating them, yes, it could be an option depending on what it is you have, but just think twice. There might be a creative way to and by the way, this took two pictures. Imagine if I even just took 2 pictures per book, how long it would take me. This is the simplest way, and I could tell you, if I sold these individually, there's no way, if you added all of them up, that I would even get $137.50 out of them. It just wouldn't happen. So and this just takes a week. It's a week-long auction. A couple of things just to tell you about it. I did use some keywords in here that if you're not into comic books, you should know, because people are going to look for things like that in their searches, which is the golden age of comics, the silver age of comics, and the Bronze Age of comics. And I've mentioned this before, but I figured I would just bring this up so you could get a visual of it. And if you want to go back to this video, you could see it. Golden Age of comics there, 1938 to 1956. Silver Age, 1956 to 1970. And Bronze Age, 1970 to 1985. Sometimes people quibble a little bit with these dates depending on who you talk to, but this is a good general rule of thumb that I suggest going by. And the Bronze Age books, by the way, which I grew up with, now those are becoming ones that are harder to find and quite sought after by collectors. So if you could put that in your keywords, then that will make them show up when people type in, hey, I'm looking for a lot of Golden Age comic books. You're going to capture everyone who's looking for a lot of Golden Age comic books, Silver Age, and Bronze Age, and that's what helps rather than trying to list and say, let's, for example, a lot of 60 damaged comic books, Spider-Man, Batman, Star Wars. You're only going to be able to fit in a couple of things if you do it that way. So don't put the characters in there in the title, really. I would just stick with the era of the comics, and that's going to get you a lot of people, a lot of attention. And so try this strategy not only with comic books, but again, you could try to use it with other things as well, but it definitely does work with comics, as you can see here. And I have a bunch of other bundles like this that I'm going to be putting up pretty soon. So, I feel like this will be pretty profitable off the damage. And so it's just another thing to consider. If you are looking at a comic book collection and you do see that there's a percentage of them and they're in this golden, silver, Bronze Age era, you can still put them together in these lots like this and still get some money out of it. You could even do it with modern age books. So I'm going to be showing putting up some examples of that in my eBay store soon. And who knows, maybe I'll do a follow-up video about that as well. But that's really it. I just wanted to show you that just as a strategy. I hope you find it helpful. If so, make sure that you hit the like button. Come on by to my YouTube channel here and subscribe, the Primetime Treasure Hunter YouTube channel. We're getting closer and closer to 9,000 subscribers and possibly to 10,000 by the end of the year. That would be a really cool accomplishment. So if you like this video and it gave you an insight they didn't know about before, please share it with someone else who could also get that same type of insight. Come over to my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, and also be sure to come by to my Instagram account. I've been putting more and more stuff up there that I don't put on the YouTube channel. So that's at Prime_time_treasure. I'll see you back at the next video, everyone. Take care.